Michigan wins the battle against Army, but will the Wolverines win the war? MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, following Michigan's survival against Army. And for the second consecutive season, the Black Knights go to enemy territory against a Power 5 giant and knock off a college football playoff contender, and didn't do enough last year, didn't do enough this year to get it done versus Oklahoma, then Michigan. Let's dive through the play-by-play, and then I'll give my thoughts on Michigan football as it stands right now. All right, the Wolverines, turnover-ridden in the first half. Of course, before we go through the analytics, MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, lock it in right here. Best discussion, debate, and analysis on a daily basis. Of course, we've got the live streams running almost every day. And, of course, game analysis, previews, and predictions that you can find on my Voice of College Football community down below in the description section. So, Michigan turns it over right away. Eric Smith on Shea Patterson. Shea Patterson turned the ball over, was careless with the football at times. Other times it was not his fault. On this first turnover, Shea Patterson's fault. He coughs it up because he did not protect the football. Eric Smith stripped it, and Army went up 7-0 as they put on a beautifully executed typical Army attack. They only threw 4 passes in this game, and usually when they threw it, it meant a bad result for Army, as it typically does. And that's the Army game. On the plus side, you keep the ball away from the opposing team. You keep it in front of the sticks as long as you don't have any penalties offensively. But on the downside, no explosive plays, no passing threat downfield. And if you need to score quickly, as they did late in the game, it's difficult to get the ball downfield quickly. But on this play, on this series, 10 plays, 60 yards, they eat up over 5 minutes on the 60-yard drive and score the touchdown to go up 7-0. Michigan, did they get desperate, or was this a really good play? Well, the result was good. On a 4th and 9, Michigan goes with a fake punt on the pass from Michael Barrett to Daxton Hill for 25 yards. That led to a Michigan touchdown that made the game 7-7. So, again, the result was good, but does this... You can look at it a number of ways. Do you play daring football? Do you trust your defense if you're Michigan? 4th and 9 in your own end early in the ball game, down 7-0, but you go for the fake punt. It works, 25 yards, and it leads to a touchdown. Michigan got ripped off on this play. Army with the ball, bad pitch to Kel Walker. He couldn't corral the bad pitch behind him. The ball was on the turf. It was picked up. And actually, Josh Metellus picked it up and ran for a touchdown. And based on all the replays I saw, Josh Metellus had possession of the football, and his knee was not down, and he runs it in for the touchdown, and Michigan was up 14-7. But it was ruled down on the field. It was ruled down by replay, and Michigan got the ball, but then Shea Patterson was strip sacked again. This time not necessarily his fault because of the play call. His back was to the defense. Back was turned on this one, and Elijah Riley made a great play for Army. Shot through the line, strip sack to Shea Patterson. Army gets the football again. They march for another touchdown, another Michigan fumble, another Army touchdown. This time, Army had a 4th and 5 at the Michigan 35. They went for it, and they called a pass. After 25 consecutive runs, Army called a pass. Michigan was all over it. They had coverage downfield with 2 of their best players, Khaleke Hudson and Lavert Hill. They had a pass rush in the quarterback's face, and they committed pass interference not once, twice. Possibly their 2 best defenders, Lavert Hill and Khaleke Hudson, grabbed the jerseys when they had no reason to, and Army gets a gift, converts the 4th and 5 on the pass interference call, and they score the touchdown and the Kelvin Hopkins touchdown run, and Army's up 14-7. They take it to the break like that, 14-7. Then Army, this was a key series in the game. Army working their triple attack option to perfection. They drive it to the Michigan 5. They're about to go up 21-7. Then their quarterback, Kelvin Hopkins, again, makes a horrible decision. So the play call may not have been the best. They choose to pass. He rolls out. Quarterbacks, sometimes young quarterbacks don't understand angles, and they don't understand time duration of time, and how quickly when a guy looks open over here, but because of the angle and the time duration that it takes, he's really not open. And they don't understand necessarily distance. So Hopkins gets flushed from the pocket. He already had roll to his right. He's way back behind the line of scrimmage, a good 10 or 12 yards behind the line of scrimmage, has to throw it back across his body, thinks he sees somebody open, but it takes so long for the football to get there and the angle, and Lavert Hill picks it off at the 5. Army was almost up in this game, 21-7 against Michigan, with about 5 minutes left in the third quarter. That would have been nervous time for the Go Blue faithful. But Michigan goes on a drive. Shea Patterson, couple interesting notes pointed out by Joel Klatt during the broadcast. One had to do with Shea Patterson's oblique, which was hurt very early in the Middle Tennessee game, has been bothering him. Could be an issue throughout the rest of the season. You hurt an oblique, as I understand it, and it could be awful for a long time. Ronnie Bell, in the absence of Donovan Peoples-Jones, who missed the game because of a foot injury. So Donovan Peoples-Jones hurt last week. Foot injury, out for this game. Their most consistent playmaker, not the guy with the highest ceiling necessarily, but most consistent playmaker. Been waiting for Ronnie Bell to become a factor, and he did in this game. 7 catches, 81 yards, and he looked it. Not just 7 catches, 81 yards, but he plucked the ball out of the air. He was explosive. He ran really good routes. And they more and more got him involved in the second half, understanding this guy's making plays. And he was dangerous on the crossing route. They couldn't keep up with him. So he makes a play to inside the 5. Zach Charbonnet scores the touchdown. Charbonnet had 3 touchdowns on the day, makes it 14 all, but he had his issues on the ground, as did the Michigan offense. We'll talk about that in just a second. Michigan drive again. Ronnie Bell again. They're 4th and 2 at the Army 22, and we'll talk about the issue right here with the Michigan offense, this new Josh Gaddis offense. On a 4th and 2, they could not convert. Army stuffs Charbonnet, and they missed that old short yardage offense, I believe, at Michigan. So 4th and 2, they get stuffed. They're still down 14-7. Jeff Monken, it's interesting to note because this came up many times, that when you play Army-style football, you constantly have 3rd and short, 4th and short. And when it comes to 4th and short, he plays the numbers to the specific metric. That so you understand, because of the percentages, there's analytics that will tell you, do you need to go for it because of the position on the field? That should be taken into account, obviously. Position on the field, and there's a threshold that if it's under a certain, and it's different for every team against every defense. That's how the analytics should work. Should work against a specific defense, that there's a threshold that tells you go for it or punt. And Jeff Monken, regardless of the situation, always goes for it. Now, I don't think that decision should be dictated only by the series, the distance, the defense, and the position on the field. It should also be dictated by game score and situation of the game. And I don't necessarily know that it doesn't sound like he takes that into account. Army targeting call, that was a bad call, kicks the safety out of the game, but they did stop the drive. 2:32 left in the game, 4th and 2. Michigan got the ball back. Were driving. They were about midfield. And again, short yardage for Michigan. Eubanks, the H-back, tight end, fullback guy for Michigan, who's been around on campus for a long, long time, veteran, misses the block, completely whiffs on the block. Charbonnet driven for a loss on 4th and 2. Michigan stuffed again on 4th and short. So Army takes over. They got 2:30 on the clock. But again, this is an Army offense that isn't going to throw the ball downfield in a manner in which they know what they're doing. Get the guys out of bounds, precision passing. They went 2 of 4 on the day, throwing the ball. So Army actually got its yardage moving down the field, running the football with 2.5 on the clock. So 2.5 on the clock is an eternity for most offenses, but Army could only get it from their 48 to the Michigan 33 during that 2.5 minutes. 50-yard field goal to win it. No time left, 2 seconds. This is going to be the last play of the game. Your guy, Cole Talley, freshman, true freshman, has never kicked a field goal in a game. And his first one is a 50-yarder at the Big House to beat Michigan on the final play of the game to hand Army its first win against a top 10 team since it beat Penn State in 1963. It looked like he barely hit the distance, but he missed it. He just pushed it to the right, and we go to overtime. Beautiful Army drive right out of the gate. They typically do what they do, and they keep it in front of the sticks. They don't have to throw the ball. Beautiful possession for 25 yards and the touchdown to go up 21-14. So the pressure's on Shea Patterson in Michigan. He goes to that guy, Ronnie Bell, 3rd and 6, key play, crossing route. Bell catches it. They can't keep up with him, gets the first down. And they had a pass interference on a slant play on a key 3rd down again that converted a first down for Michigan. Charbonnet scores again, 3rd touchdown on the day. Michigan ties 21-21. If you checked out the extra point on that one, it was mighty close. Jake Moody almost pushed it, and he would have been a huge goat, but we go to a second overtime. Michigan barely moves the ball, kicks the field goal, 24-21. So Army's got the ball to win the game. But they get behind the sticks, 3rd down and long. They've got to throw it, and the Army pocket just collapses on Kelvin Hopkins. Kwity Paye made an exceptional play, just bull rushing the quarterback, pushing the center guard into a Hopkins' face, knocking the ball loose. He came free and just knocked the ball loose out of Hopkins' hands. Paye recovered the fumble. It didn't matter. Well, it did matter. It was 3rd down going to a 4th down, so that ends the game. Kwity Paye, the hero, kind of reminds me of a sense of the Nick Bosa play on Christian Hackenberg in overtime, the strip sack fumble that ended the game and led to a Ohio State national championship season. Michigan should be so lucky, and the way they're playing right now, it doesn't appear that they're anything close to that. But let's keep in mind, same situation last year. Army goes to Oklahoma, takes the Sooners to the wire 28-21. Oklahoma's still good enough to win the Big 12 and get to a college football playoff and not get blown off the field. Actually looked like they belonged there. So I am not calling for the demise and complete annihilation of Michigan football, but there are some concerning issues here. The Michigan defense looked good. Army's going to score some points. They're going to keep the ball away. It's going to be difficult to defend that option all the time. It's so well executed. So Michigan's defense played rather well. They didn't play great. They played rather well. They were taken down the field about 3 times in particular. There were 2 scoring drives, obviously, for Army, and then there was the 3rd drive that should have made it 21-7. So Michigan did give up some yardage, but they only gave up 3.2 yards per carry. Per rush, Michigan 3.2. A couple sacks in there helped the average, but still 3.2 yards per carry. The concern is the Michigan offense. Josh Gaddis, new system. So it's not explosive. It's not been explosive. And aside from Donovan Peoples-Jones being absent because of the foot, they need another running back beyond Charbonnet. They have to go to somebody else. Turner came in for a couple carries, but Charbonnet carried it 33 times for 100 yards, so he could only average 3.3 yards per carry. This is always, in addition to the athletes on the perimeter, the advantage that a high-level Power 5 team has against a service academy is NFL players along the line of scrimmage as well. And Michigan could not impose their will on the ground. They ran it a lot. Charbonnet, 33 carries, 100 yards, but only 3.3 yards per carry out of him. 2.4 yards per carry for Michigan football against Army. That's concerning. Just the overall inability for what has been tabbed as the Big Ten's best offensive line to move the chains, move the line of scrimmage downfield. Number 2, short yardage. Michigan, They're out of their element. They apparently have the personnel. The personnel likes to play the spread, but they haven't done it in the past and not done it on short yardage, and they were a mess on short yardage. They had a 4th and 2 in which the guard and the tackle got mixed up, and the wide receiver was supposed to pull over out of his motion and block. They got tangled up, and the play was blown up. They continually failed on 3rd and 4th and short. Michigan did. They got to correct that. And with that style of offense, that's typically a weakness, and that's not Michigan football. So those are the two big concerns that I see. Shea Patterson is going to get criticized because this was a close one. He only put up 21 points in regulation, but 19 of 29 for 207. Yes, he did look shaky at times. He's got to hang on to the football, but this kid has a lot of talent, looked good throwing the football for the most part. But I think it's more about run the ball, and we got to solve short yardage situations if we're Michigan. So again, Oklahoma made the college football playoff and had the same situation with Army in overtime at home. Feel for Army. Could have beaten a top 10 team for the first time since 1963. Couldn't get the job done. Could have done it last year, obviously, against number 5, Oklahoma. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, would love to know what you feel and what you think about Michigan's quest to win the Big Ten, get to a playoff spot, how they looked today. Obviously not great against a team that's not going to come anywhere close to a playoff spot. Unless they run the table. Army runs the table. Maybe they do. This is the toughest game on paper that they have. All right, we'll be back with all the 3:30 analysis of those windows: Clemson, Texas A&M, Nebraska, Colorado. We also checked in on Ohio State and the drubbing that Maryland put on Syracuse. Coming up here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.